Hi Year 4, here we go with chapter 10 of How to Train Your Dragon, and this chapter is called Thursday, and this is the first half of it. The Thursday celebrations were a truly spectacular occasion. The hairy hooligans, fierce rivals, the meatheads, from the nearby Meathead Islands sailed across the inner ocean to the Isle of Berk for this great gathering. The visitors set up camp in Blackheart Bay, which turned overnight from an empty desert of echoing seagulls into a bustling village of tents made out of sails too patched to be used at sea anymore. By the next morning, the long beach was packed with stalls and jugglers and fortune tellers. There was a happy confusion of Vikings spotting old friends and practicing their sword play and yelling at the children to stop hitting each other right now, for Thor's sake. No, I really meant it this time, or else. Vast Viking men sat on uncomfortable rocks, guffawing loudly like gigantic sea lions in a holiday mood. Impressively large Viking women huddled in groups, cackling like seagulls and downing whole mugs of tea in one swallow. Despite old Wrinkly's gloomy forecasts of terrible storms and typhoons, it was a gloriously hot June day with not even a hint of a cloud in the offing. The young hero's final initiation test would not start until 2 p.m. that afternoon, so Hiccup spent the morning listening round-eyed to storytellers telling tall tales of dirty dames and pirate princesses. He was sick with nerves, so found it difficult to enjoy the occasion as much as he had done in previous years. Even Gobber, throwing up during the "How many gull eggs can you eat in 1 minute" competition, failed to raise more than a faint smile on his pale, tense face. Hiccup's family had a picnic lunch overlooking the axe-fighting display. Hiccup could not eat a thing, and nor, unusually, could Toothless, who was in a difficult mood and turned his nose up at the tuna sandwich Valharama offered. "Good to keep your dragon's appetite sharp for the game," boomed Stoik the Vast, who was in an excellent mood. He had won a bet on Google Toad in the ugliest baby contest and was looking forward to seeing his son's brilliant display during the initiation test. As the day wore on, a hot wind suddenly started blowing out of nowhere. It was still sweltering hot, but ominous grey clouds were gathering on the horizon. There was the odd rumble of thunder in the air. Maybe old Wrinkly had been right, thought Hiccup as he gazed upwards, and Thor was going to put in his traditional appearance at the Thursday celebrations. "Parp! Will all youths hoping to be initiated into the tribes this year please make their way to the ground at the left of the beach?" Hiccup gulped, nudged Toothless, and stood up. This was it. Hiccup was one of the last to get to the ground, which was a large area of wet sand just to the edge of the sea. The boys from his own tribe were already assembled, their dragons hovering a couple of feet above them. Everybody was chattering excitedly, and even Snotlight was looking nervous. The Meathead boys and their dragons seemed to be gigantic, rough-looking customers, far tougher than the hooligans. One in particular was a great hulking brute of a boy who looked 15 at least. Hiccup presumed he was Thuggery, Chief Mogadon the Meathead's son, because a silver-grey monstrous nightmare about 3 foot tall was perched on one of his shoulders. It was looking at Fireworm like a Rottweiler thinking evil thoughts. Fireworm acted unconcerned. "An aristocrat never growls," purred Fireworm sweetly. "You must be one of those mongrel nightmares. We pure greenbloods descended from the great Ripperclaw himself and would never dream of doing anything so common." The silver nightmare's growling increased in volume. The crowd was assembling at the touchline. Hiccup tried not to notice Stoik the Vast blasting his way to the front with great cries of, "Out of my way, I'm a chief! 10 to 1, my son catches more fish than your son in this test," boomed Stoik, giving his old enemy Mogadon the Meathead a good prod in the stomach. Mogadon the Meathead narrowed his eyes and wondered whether to hit him. Maybe after the test. "And which," asked Mogadon the Meathead, "is your son?" Is he the tall one who looks like a pig with the skeleton tattoos and the red monstrous nightmare? Nope, said Stoic happily. That's my brother, Baggybum's sons. My son is the skinny one over there with the toothless daydream. Mogadon the meathead broke into a big smile. He slapped Stoic on the back and yelled, I take your bet and double it. Done, shouted Stoic, and the two great chieftains shook hands and bumped bellies on the bet. Gobber the Belch was in charge of this final stage of the initiation test. He was still looking a bit green from his unpleasant experience in the how many gulls' eggs can you eat in 1 minute competition. This had not improved his temper. All right, you horrible lot, yelled Gobber. This is where we find out if you are the stuff that heroes are made of. You will either walk out of this arena full members of the noble tribes of hairy hooligans and merciless meatheads, or go into miserable exile forever from the inner isles. Let's see which it's going to be, shall we? He grinned nastily at the 20 boys standing before him. I shall begin by inspecting you and your animals as if you were warriors about to go into battle. I shall introduce you to the watching member of the tribes and you hope to enter. Then the test will begin. You will demonstrate how you have asserted yourselves over these wild creatures and tamed them by the sheer force of your heroic personalities. You will start by performing the basic commands of go, stay, fetch. You will end by ordering your reptile to hunt fish for you, as your forefathers have done before you. Hiccup swallowed nervously. The boy and dragon who most impressed the judge, and that is me, Gobber bared his teeth grimly, will receive the extra glory of being called the hero of heroes and most promising dragon. The boys and dragons who fail this test will say farewell to their families forever and leave the tribe to go where we do not care. Gobber paused. Poetry, muttered Fishlegs, just loud enough for Gobber to hear. Gobber glared at him. Heroes or exiles, yelled Gobber the Belch. Heroes or exiles, yelled 18 boys fanatically back at him. Heroes or exiles, yelled the watching hooligan and meathead tribes. Please let me be a bit of a hero, just this once. Hiccup and Fishlegs each thought to themselves, nothing too spectacular or anything, just to get through this test. Stand to your attention, with your dragons on your right arms, yelled Gobber the Belch. Gobber walked down the row of boys for the inspection. Beautiful turnout, Gobber congratulated Thuggery the meathead on his nightmare dragon, Killer, who spread out his shining wings to show off a wingspan of about 4 foot. Gobber stopped abruptly when he got to Hiccup. And what in the name of wooden, demanded Gobber, blanching a little, is this? It's a toothless daydream, sir, muttered Hiccup. Small but vicious, added Fishlegs helpfully. Toothless daydream, blustered Gobber. That's the smallest common or garden I've ever seen. What do you think I am, an idiot? No, sir, murmured Fishlegs reassuringly, just a little on the slow side. Gobber glowered dangerously. A toothless daydream, explained Hiccup, looks exactly like a common or garden, except for the characteristic wart on the end of its nose. Silence, said Gobber in a very loud whisper, or I shall throw you all the way to the mainland. I hope, he continued, that this dragon hunts better than it looks. You and your fishy friend here are the worst candidates for initiation I have ever had the displeasure of teaching. But you are the future of this tribe, Hiccup, and if you shame us in front of the meatheads, I personally will never forgive you. Do you understand? Hiccup nodded. Each boy then stepped forward to bow and hold up his dragon for the spectators to applaud. There was huge clapping for Snot-Faced Snotlout and his dragon. Fireworm only rivalled by the mighty cheering for Thuggery the meathead and his dragon Killer. I give you, last but not least, Gobber the Belch was trying to put a bit of enthusiasm into his yelling, the fearsome, the terrible, the only son of Stoic the Vast, Hiccup the Useful and his dragon Toothful. Hiccup stepped forward and held up Toothless as high as he could to make him look a bit bigger. There was a slightly appalled silence. People had seen dragons this small before, of course, normally scampering about the field, mice in the wild, but not as noble hunting dragons competing in initiation. Size isn't everything, boomed Stoic so loudly that you could have heard him several beaches away, and he banged his great hands together to start the applause. Everyone was terrified of Stoic's famous temper, so they joined in with polite, wild cheering. Toothless was still in a mood, but he was delighted to be the centre of attention, and he puffed out his chest and bowed solemnly to left and right. A few of the meatheads sniggered. I've changed my mind, thought Hiccup, closing his eyes. This is the worst moment of my life so far. Okay, Toothless, he whispered into the little dragon's ear. This is our big chance. Catch lots of fish here, and I will tell you more jokes than you have ever heard in your life, which will make that big red fireworm dragon really cross. Toothless took a sideways glance at Fireworm. She was sharpening her nails on Snopout's helmet with the smug certainty of a dragon who knows she's about to win the prize for most promising dragon. Perp! The test began. And that's the end of the first half of the chapter.